All right, just kind of a recap of last week, going back and watching the game. First of all, after watching a bunch of games over the weekend, credit to Ole Miss. Those guys are a good football team. We were in a good game. For 3 quarters, they found a way to win at the end, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So, those guys played well, and as we watched the tape, there's good things that we did. But there's enough bad in there that we weren't able to win that football game. And so our goal is to go back and like any game, watch it, don't forget about it, look at it, learn from it, and apply that to what we do during this week and how we're going to get better. But I did think some guys individually played well, but overall, it's a team game. We win or lose as a team. There's no moral victories in any part of that game, because we went out there to win it. So bottom line is we got to get better. We have to do a better job. Starts with me, in preparing these guys and making sure that we're doing what we need to do to finish those games, to get through 4 quarters and not 3 quarters, to keep the ball in our hands. And we'll continue to work on those things throughout this week. So as far as this week goes, just a couple things here. So the fan color scheme, I know I need to hit on that. Be blue in Albertson Stadium. You guys can probably guess what we're wearing, all right, for our uniforms. We are going to do something a little bit different, the Bronco Walk. So that'll start at 5:40 until about 5:55. So we're going to walk down University and come in where it says Albertson Stadium and then head around the east side of the stadium. So it'll be a little bit different. So we'll come around there. We're hoping that we get as many fans over there as we lead into the football facility as we can. We'll grab, anywhere from 8 to 10 fans to come in here with us, watch the video. Team will watch it. They'll get a chance to kind of tour the facility very quickly, and then come in here, watch the hype video, and then get out and get back to their party at that time. So want to make it fun, but also want to make it, where our players and our fans are able to interact even prior to the game. And that helps our guys, and we expect to have a packed house against Colorado State, for it to be loud and be difficult to get the home field advantage. And our guys are excited about that. They're excited about being at home, excited about playing on the blue, and just excited about another opportunity to go play. As far as Colorado State, those guys are coming off a significant win against a Pac-12 team, and it was a big game. That game for them has been big every year. And they were able to do some really good things in that game. I thought their offense showed up well. Their 2 running backs both played well. Hart's a transfer from Alabama. He really showed up. And then the other back, Gerald's, he came in there and he continued on right where Hart left off. Those 2 guys were a good 1-2 punch. Their O-line played well. Their quarterback's a senior, and you can see that experience, just kind of leading the offense, whether he's throwing it or handing the ball off. He's got good composure back there. Defensively, I think they did some good things with their front. The D-line, they played hard. Their linebackers played well, probably one of the better linebacking crews that we'll see. Secondary, they got tested on a few throws. But I think their corners and safety, the way they kind of play it, all those positions, looked good. And as we go back through and kind of rewatch this game again, we'll get a better idea. But structurally, 4 down front, you'll see some 3 down front. Ends will stand up and give you some different looks. So they'll have some variety, I'm sure, from what they've done in the last game to what they'll do in this game. There'll be some things that we haven't seen. You're still in those first 3 games where they still got a lot of install from fall camp they probably didn't use in that Colorado game. So we're still at a point where, there's going to be things that we haven't seen. We just have to be prepared for. Special teams, Hayden Hunt, leads he's 54 average in punt, which is, and he's 45.8 in net, so 13. So they got a guy that can boom it. They got a punt returner that's 9th individually, kickoff returner. And so special teams, in those areas there, they've done some good things, and they've, even last year, going back and watching them, they've done some good things. They have some fakes in there, and they called them at good times. So overall, I mean, you see a football team that's gotten better. You see an offense that's gotten better from last year. Defense has gotten better, a significant win. And so, we have a big challenge, when these guys come into our place and play. So we've got to get those guys prepared this week for Colorado State. Got to get ready to go in there and play our very best, better than we played last week. And, from week 1 to week 2 is where a lot of teams make changes. And if you watch a lot of games from this last week, maybe some surprises on what you thought you might have seen from some teams. And I think what you're really going to see is when week 2 comes around, some of the teams that may not have played as well as everybody expected, how do they play in week 2? And, that's what, we're looking at as well. So we're excited about it, though. Looking forward to getting back to practice. We had a good Sunday night practice, got after a little bit. We'll get cranking again on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then be ready to rock and roll on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Open it up for questions.
Just curious about an update on Tyler Horn and then also Connor Peters. Holden's back, and then anything on Dante Dion.
Yeah, Holden's back. Both Dante and Tyler, I don't have the final prognosis on what the situation with those guys are right now. Don't know if they'll be ready. We'll know today, this afternoon. We'll kind of get, what's going on and where they are. I think Dante, he tried to get back into the game. Tyler didn't, and so we just got to figure out where he's at this point.
You said week 1, week 2 is where teams start to make changes. What changes for you this week?
Well, I think it's a continuation of what we've been doing. And you go back and you've got to build on the good things and eliminate the negatives. I think for a lot of teams it's not real complicated. You've got to eliminate the negative plays that you had in that first game or the first game jitters or whatever you want to call it. And I also think, too, more about your team, whether you've been a coach there for 9 years or 1 year, you kind of see, what your team does and how they handle certain situations. I thought we handled things well in the game. We didn't have some plays made go in our favor at some points of the game, but how we handled things was good. So we got to build off of that, and then we got to obviously fix some of the things that happened in the game that were negative for us. But those are the type of changes you're looking for. If those things compound into the next game and you're having the same type of mistakes and things like that, that's where it gets a little bit scary.
When you went back and watched the film of the 4 interceptions Grant threw, what'd you see?
Well, I saw, one was tipped, and, one where there's a couple decisions in there. And really, the bottom line is that, as a quarterback, and I've coached quarterbacks, I've got to do a better job with that position, when we get in those situations of what to do. And, Grant knows it. We want to take care of the football. When you're out there playing the game, you're trying to make plays, all right? So there's a fine line of coaches are telling you need to make plays, but you got to take care of the ball. And, it's just me doing a better job of coaching him up on those things. But I thought Grant competed. I thought he competed. I thought he stood in there. If you go back and watch the game tape and you see the type of shots he took from the D-line and he's able to bounce right back up, he doesn't lay there and flop around. He gets up. He gets ready to go play. That's the number one thing for us is toughness. All right, he threw the ball accurate for the most part. There's a couple decisions in there, which, there's probably a couple play calls in there on both sides we want to have back. So there's decisions in every game that we all have to make that you want to change. But ultimately, hey, does he learn from it? Do we learn from it? We all get better, and that's got to apply in the next game.
On both sides of the ball, I think there were a few moments where we as the media maybe expected a few more guys to get reps that didn't get reps. Maybe Demas on offense, a guy like Dylan Southern Carter didn't get the game on defense. What was your reasoning behind keeping those guys on the bench?
I don't think there's any reason behind it necessarily other than just the flow of the game. It's also about putting guys, especially young guys, in situations that they're going to have success. I think you got to be very careful, and I could name off several players at different teams that have went and played as freshmen and didn't have success. They're not playing anymore. So you want to have success as a player. You want to put guys in successful situations. Now, does that mean they're ready? Maybe not at that time. And that experience, just being a part of it, that's part of their development as well. As far as running backs, I mean, Jay felt good He looked good. He wasn't winded, and he's the guy that we want to try to get the ball to. And so, and that showed up. He made most of the big plays for us throughout the night, and he was feeling it. And it's hard to take a guy out that's feeling it. And I will say this: going back and watching our team, what we did leading up to the game, I thought we did play fast, and I thought we did play fresh, or looked fresh out there. And Jay was a perfect example of that.
Two kind of follow-ups. One, Grant took that shot, the targeting call. Did he show any ill effects of that? His numbers kind of dropped for a few minutes after that. And then to follow up on Paul's question about the diversity, particularly on offense, do you have to get more people involved touching the ball? Can it just be Shane and Matt and Jay all season?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer Grant's. I don't know the statistical analysis after he took that hit. I'm sure he felt it, because he took several of them. But no, he's fine. There was nothing in the game where he wasn't on the sideline in pain or anything like that or bent over. Grant's a tough guy. There's no doubt about that. He proved that. And those quarterbacks don't get hit all year long. That's the first hits he's taken, and those are big hits. And so he's bouncing right up. As far as, do you have to have other guys touch the ball? It'll happen naturally. No, you don't. You want to have the guys that need to touch the ball touch the ball. So you want to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers that can go out there and make plays. And, Matt's obviously one, Jay, Shane, those are guys that have had the most experience making plays. Will it be like that throughout the entire year? No. And you got to manufacture some other. You'll manufacture some other things for other players, just because eventually, if Matt and Shane and Jay are always touching it, it's not real hard to say as a defense what you're going to do. You're going to make sure to take care of those guys. So that's naturally going to happen, and it's just a matter of time before other guys get out there and make plays. But again, those guys. The reason why they touch the ball is because they practice hard. They practice well. They go out there and execute and practice, and it shows up in the games. And so that needs to continue from other positions to do that in practice. So we all feel good about where the ball needs to go or who it can go to. And we tried to take some shots. Unfortunately, it didn't work out to the other guys, but it'll happen at some point.
Coach, going to Colorado State again. You mentioned obviously their running attack. I know they rebuilt the offensive line a little bit. They lost some free bibs, but it seems like they hit the ground running this year. What is it that you see that enables them to be able to do that with that kind of power run game?
Well, it's Coach McElwain, he comes from Alabama, so you have kind of an NFL-style run game, where it's downhill and it's vertical cuts and it's vertical runs. It's not a lot of sideways stuff and all that. So I think in that particular game, their O-line, if you watch it, they're in a groove. They're in a groove. I think they're playing well. I think the backs are playing off them. They're seeing the creases. I think there was some creases in there that, were pretty big that they had an opportunity to hit, and they took advantage of it. So it's a downhill run game. That's what you like to see, from an offensive standpoint. So, linebackers, D-line, you have to do a great job up front. You have to do a great job with your front seven, all right, of flowing with the play and getting in position to make the tackle. Don't let him get to the second level, because a lot of those runs, he was to safety depth at that time before he's ever, getting to anybody. But I also think it's part of that formula that they have with, how they're going to run the ball and what they're going to do, and that showed up in that game.
When you looked at the film, you had first and goal from the one. I think Jay ran 3 times. What did you see in that sequence? How big was that not getting in there?
Yeah, well, it was huge. Being inside the 5-yard line twice and not getting in, that's as big as it gets in a game. So, the run schemes down there, we want to run the ball. We're not going to bang our heads against the wall and just say we're doing that completely no matter what and get stuffed. But we thought we could run the ball. We felt like we could run it. That particular drive, we ran power 3 times and got about 17 yards out of it in particular. So we thought we could do that when we got down there. And it didn't work. They 25 from Ole Miss did something that he'd never done on film. He came off the backside. He's a smart football player. He saw something and just came and disrupted a play. Otherwise, it probably would have scored had he not been involved. And he wasn't really even a factor until he decided on his own to come off the edge. So that's a smart football play by him. You know, in hindsight, you go down there and say, well, we could have done this, this, and this. But you're giving your one of your best players the opportunity with the ball in his hands. You're going to go behind your line against a good D-line. But you're gonna try to push your way in there, and we need to find a way to get that done. That's the bottom line. Now that opens it up for we have to do some different things down there and have a little bit more variety for those type of situations. But that wouldn't change the mindset that we go down there with on really both drives. And the other drive we had that we threw the interception on there. Hey, if we don't do that, we get points out of either one of them. We get points out of that drive as well. It's not what you want, but that's one area against a team like that, when you get inside the 10 and, we're able to move the ball, we had a lot of space. When you start playing a defense that's got a good D-line and it's got speed, then you condense that area. They're going to be to the ball a whole lot quicker, and so you got to be even more precise what you're doing.
Teams play a wide range of opponents' calibers in the first game. You guys obviously played somebody that's very good. How will that help you as the season moves along, having played somebody so good the first week?
Yeah, a lot to learn from. I mean, I thought there were some good one-on-one position battles. I mean, if you break it all down and go to individual players, like I said, some guys played really good. Some guys, battled. So there's some guys even coming out of a loss that feel more confident, just about the way they played individually with their one-on-one battles against a good opponent, and against, guys up front, on both sides of the ball that are pretty good. So, there's some good things that came out of it. Overall, you look at it, and we had our opportunities. You say, we scored twice down there, and we take advantage of those opportunities. We eliminate some of the turnovers there. The game might be different, but it wasn't, bottom line. And so you got to take that, learn from it, think about what you did individually. How did you prepare? All right, did you feel like going into that game you were where you wanted to be? And if you're not, we got to find a way to prepare better and harder. And each player should be thinking that anyway. We're going to another game, and we've got to take more time to prepare. So there's a lot of things you can draw confidence off from that. But ultimately, as a team, we're not where we want to be. We want to be in that win category. So with that being said, that confidence also amongst individuals got to come collectively as a team and be, what, we need to get better. And we need to get better in a hurry. We only got a few days until we go play again.
On the defensive side of the ball, kind of the turning point was almost exactly when Dante Dion went out of the game, and he wasn't on the field for any of the 35 points. Just how crucial is he to the defense, and is he that type of difference maker within the offense?
He is. I mean, he's crucial to our defense, yeah. He's a good player. As far as, is that the reason why they scored? I don't know. It's hard to say. With a couple of the plays, they threw one up, guy went up and made a play. They threw a slant in the backside there and went for 60, whatever they did on that. So I don't know if it's because he's not in there, but you lose a couple key players in there, with Tyler not being in there, Dante not being in there. You want to have all your guys that have played, in the game. So is that the reason? I don't know. But when you had those guys in there, we're playing well. And, the bottom line is this is football. Things happen. Guys get dinged. Next man up. And that guy's got to be ready to go in there and play. And I think the one thing that you could take from this from our team is those guys that had to go in, those backup guys in that particular game, were they completely ready? I think they were. But it happens that fast that you're on the sideline, all of a sudden you're the starter. And that mentality, I think our team, when they looked at that and went back and watched the tape and how fast it changes, for some of these young guys in particular, that mindset changes how they prepare because they'll be in that game in a hurry.
You heard on the broadcast, you were telling guys for the back shoulder throw.
What's that?
On the broadcast, you could hear you saying for the back shoulder throw.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, that's what they were hitting. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you heard it.
Evaluate Jake Rowe's performance. How do you?
Good. I think he did a good job. We like Jake. We think that he played well. He had I don't know how many. I think he had 3 catches maybe in the game. Yeah, 4 catches. So it was good. We tried to get him up on the sideline on one. We tried to take a shot with him. They covered it well. But this is Jake being in that game and playing the way he did, that's confidence. I think Hardy played well in that game. Alec Daines played well in that game. We got Holden Huff coming back this week. And so, that position to me is growing in confidence with, hey, we can contribute 4 or 5 catches, one particular player, maybe it's 8 total amongst the entire group. That's pretty productive. And then, hopefully they're contributing down there in the red zone too, and we can do some different things with them.
And a lot of the players that said that they felt like this offense was going to be very explosive this year, and you guys really didn't have the explosive plays. You moved the ball, but couldn't get the 30, 40, 50-yard type play.
Right.
Were there opportunities there that you missed, or did they just kind of take that stuff away from you, or what do you guys need to do to get some of those plays back on?
Yeah, a little both. I think they played it well at times, and we had some opportunities. Now that comes from, not just throwing the ball down the field there. I mean, the explosiveness comes from, you throw a hitch, you take it for 60. Run plays that go for 40 yards. So we also have to create that, within the play at times. So, working towards that, and ultimately, I mean, those things will come when you're operating. I don't think you can go in there and just get stuffed and then try to throw the ball down the field. I mean, that's not very smart football. They're going to know what's going on. So the consistency in playing, you're going to create those opportunities at some point. If you're doing, your base stuff and you're doing it well and you're executing it and you're doing it consistently, you're going to open things up. And I think that's the difference. I mean, explosive plays in the past have come from just running our stuff, and then opportunities have come from that.
You had a first-time offensive coordinator calling plays, Marcel calling plays for the first time. How much of a learning curve and learning experience was this game for the whole staff, and what can they take from that?
Yeah, well, I think everybody. You get a chance to do that for the first time, and, I thought both Mike and Sel did a good job. I think they both, from listening to them on the headsets, they had command. They knew what they wanted to do. I thought we put our guys in position to be successful. I think they made good adjustments, throughout the game. And then, the staff too. I mean, the communication on there of what guys were seeing, helping each other out. I mean, that was good in this game. It'll get better. Now you kind of know how, until you kind of get into it, as a coordinator and on staff, to kind of get a feel for how a guy's going to call the game. It takes a minute. And, now guys have gone through it. I know staff-wise, and, we feel a whole lot better, just about the operation, by being in the game and how we do things. So both those guys did a good job. Both those guys had the staffs and both sides of the ball prepared to go play in this game. I thought our guys came in and, like I said, played fast. But there's things in there that we got to improve as well, and they learned from that too. And the one thing about Mike and Sel and Coach Riddle, those guys take a bunch of notes after games, and they figure out how we're going to get better. And they immediately got to work, and you can just see it. And I've been in those games before too. You learn a lot, in situations like that. And it's just kind of the light bulb even comes on brighter, and you start to go, okay, this is how it needs to be. And I think those guys feel that way coming out of that game.
Derek Grayson's from Washington. He said he grew up watching the program. Was there ever an overlap when you were here where you took a look at him and said, hey, this guy could have a chance to play here?
I don't remember. I bet we did, because he's a good player. I mean, he's a strong arm guy. He can throw it. Yeah, I mean, would he be a guy that I would look at? Absolutely. As a guy that we'd recruit. So I don't remember, how it all flowed from that standpoint, but he's a good player.
Tanner Vallejo obviously had a game for it. What did you see out of him at linebacker?
Yeah, just all over the place. I think he's, Tanner's a smart football player. He gets it. I think he understands the game. But he and Tyler Gray, with the interception in the game, did the same exact thing in practice to a T. It wasn't, it was on the same sideline in practice. So we were kind of laughing about it when he picked it. It was exactly it. But Tanner's, Tanner plays fast. He plays hard. He played physical in that game. And I thought Tanner, I thought he was one of the guys that I'm talking about. I thought he looked fast, and I thought he played fast. And that's just a credit to him. He prepares himself. He is a good football player. He's athletic, but he showed in that game, and he was as fast as anybody on the field playing.
Last year they played Washington in the first game, and they had UT Martin in the second game. This year, you guys go from Ole Miss to another quality opponent, obviously. Do you like that? I know you touched on it in the open a little bit, but just having a quality opponent like this, back to back to start things off, no breathers.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We can't change it, So, no, that's part of it. Yeah, we want to get right back on the field and play, and Colorado State. I mean, all these teams. It is what it is. All these teams are good. There's not. I don't know. We can't really say that one team's better than another right now. We're going into week 2, so you have no idea. These guys are really good. They're really well coached, and we're glad that we have them at home, and we're excited to play. We want to get back out there and play, and so we're going to have a great week of practice and take all the stuff we learned and go put it on the field and play for 4 quarters and see what happens.
Right after the game, you said that you guys tried at times to get a couple other players involved. Kind of hinted at you have your volume guys like Jay and Shane, but I mean, how important is it to hit on that pass to Chaz in the fourth quarter, or Alec to Holly, and that might have been a tough catch, but how important is it for those guys to gain that confidence, and all of a sudden the perception probably changes by just a couple plays?
Yeah, I mean, we want other guys to make plays. I mean, that's something we all want. I mean, you wish you had 10 guys on both sides of the ball that can make plays. They got to make plays. And the only way they're going to have a chance to make plays is you give them those opportunities, and they have opportunities in there. They're going to have more opportunities. Somebody's going to emerge, all right? I'll go back. I mean, no one knew Matt Miller until he started catching balls. No one knew Jay Ajayi until he started running. So you can go back and look at all the guys like that. One of these guys will emerge. When they do it, I don't know. But those guys, Alec that got a chance to play, yeah, it's a tough catch. Do we want him to make it? Yes. Does he want to make it? Yes. All right, next time he has that chance, will he make it? Yes. All right, and so Chaz, he gets a chance to run deep. Are we going to get it to him? Absolutely. And it's going to be there, But that also for those guys, they had their opportunity as well. And so, for them, that's still exciting. You know what? It's coming my way. I know it's going to come my way again, and I'm going to make that play next time, or, hey, I'm going to get that ball to him next time. So those things will happen. It'll eventually happen here. I hope it happens sooner than later, and we get some more guys that we can spread the ball out to. But I feel like we got the guys to do that with.
You look at this league or the WAC, when you guys were in the WAC over the years, there's always been sort of that one team that had the bullseye on them. Last year was Fresno. A lot of years it was you guys. You look this year, it really isn't that team out there. It seems like there's 5, 6, 7 teams that all have a chance to sort of rise up this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of very good teams in our league, and you watch them. You watch all their games. As we get into the second week, it'll be even more interesting where guys are at. But until somebody kind of shines through, we get into league play, which we do. We start, for us, we start this next game. It'll be interesting, and that's the one thing about it. I mean, it's great competition. You got a bunch of good players, a bunch of good coaches, and you know what? Every week, kind of like we're saying, I mean, you're playing every single week in our conference, and you got to play your very best every single week, and that's fun. That's what you want to do.
When you look back at your defense's effort, one thing that really stood out is they were very physical. They had that swagger that you guys stressed during fall camp. What are your thoughts on their performance and that mentality that they seem to have in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good early on in the game. When it's all said and done, it's not good enough. I mean, the guys played fast, but we got to do a better job on defense. We don't want them, we don't want them to score, and we sure don't want that many points at the end of the game. So, we got to be more consistent and do that through 4 quarters. But I like the way they're playing. Yeah, they're playing with some energy out there, and they're playing with some confidence, into that game, which they should. They've been prepared. They prepared really well, and they've been prepared by their coaches. So that needs to continue, but not through 3 quarters. It needs to be 4 quarters. I mean, that's the bottom line. We do that same thing for 4 quarters, then we're all feeling a lot different.
Couple more guys. You talked about the decision to use McCullough as the extra tight end. I know you didn't have Peters. How did you think he played, and do you like being able to have 3 or 4 tight ends on the field?
Yeah, Eli's a guy, he's right in the mix, on the O-line. I mean, that's the one thing. So, in that particular situation, you got a big guy that, is physical, and we can get him in the game and utilize him. And again, it's for a long time, guys that deserve to play, we'll find a way to get him in the game somehow. He's worked really, really hard. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing, somewhere on the O-line this week either. I mean, he's worked hard. He can get himself in the mix. He continues to get better, but that was a way for us to get him in the game. And also at the same time, we had 3 tight ends, and he's our 4th guy that we could use in some of those situations. He did a good job. Whether we keep him in that role, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But if we do, he embraces it. He likes it. Gets him on the field. He wants to play, and that gives us a chance to put one of our better players on the field and let him do it.
I think prior to or in last week's press conference, you talked about the fact that you guys were going to go put it on the line and basically see if what you were doing was right or if you needed to reevaluate what you were doing if it didn't go right. So I guess, after that first game, where do you stand? And again, for the most part, it seemed like everybody was on the field was lining up where they're supposed to be. I mean, it didn't seem like a ton of confusion, but I guess where do you stand with all that?
Yeah, I think from our operation standpoint, good. We're doing the right stuff. How we practiced, everything we did, the 13 days prior to the first game, everything that we did kind of leading up to it and the way our guys played, that's all right. I felt like after watching the way that we played and how fast we played and that we were fresh, that was the right way to do it. You go back and look at, how we prepared. I think we prepared well. I think the mentality was there. Execution, plays, some other things, no, that needs to get better. And that's just each and every week. And I would say the same thing. Had we won the game, I'd say the same thing. I wouldn't be any different. We just got to get better. We got to get better at executing, and we got to get better at making sure we execute and we can do it consistently enough that we do the proper situations when things like that come up. You watch a lot of football this week, and there was 5 or 6 things I told the team about that other teams have done that you're just like, it's an intelligence thing. But that's what happens. We can eliminate those in the game. And that's part of kind of that anxiety and nerves a little bit. We can eliminate that. We'll be better off. But schematically, how we're doing things, how we're operating, I like it. And we got to keep building on that, and we're going to keep building on it. We like our system and formula. We just got to get better at it, but it's the right thing that we're doing.